All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. So, doing another chat about basically culture and politics today. We were talking about doing another chat about COVID updates, basically, and kind of what some of what Chris and I were talking about here before. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention we got Chris James, aka Tubin, and Woke Centrist, aka Dusty Cubes, aka Dustin Cubit. And so we got the brain trust together here. And we're going to talk about COVID and Joe Rogan getting COVID and people getting all mad about it. And, his vaccine hesitancy influenced by Bret Weinstein and him taking ivermectin for it. And people people thinking that all ivermectin is this horse dewormer, and people are and confusing them and kind of conflating them for the two different things, the human one and the horse one, for being the same one, and acting like they're humans never take animal medications and animals never take human medications. But then at the same time, it seems like when Dr. Rhonda Patrick was on Joe Rogan's podcast last time, she kind of was debunking a lot of the claims, in my opinion, that Bret Weinstein has been making about the dangers of the COVID vaccine and the utility of ivermectin. And I know, Dusty, you said yesterday that you've done a lot of research about this recently, so it'll be interesting to discuss that along with the other topic we were going to cover, which is Joe Biden pulling out of Afghanistan. And of course, it was just 9/11, the 20th anniversary of it yesterday. So ending that war in an admittedly disastrous way, but warmongers are still all mad about it. So yeah, I guess to start off with, because I think you and I, Chris, before we talked about Bret Weinstein and ivermectin and COVID and that stuff, but I don't think Dusty talked with us about that yet. So do you want to start off there, Dusty, and tell us some of what you've been learning about in terms of the studies and ivermectin and the vaccines?
Well, yeah, so I was taking a look at because there's a couple different meta studies that have been done. There's been one where they basically throw in the kitchen sink of all studies, which is not the way you do meta studies. And they basically cherry picked details from these studies that make ivermectin look favorable. The biggest problem with the meta studies is that they're not all consistent. So they have different variables that they're looking for, and every study is done in a very different way. But say one study has this super favorable outlook of ivermectin, and for instance, the Egypt study that was retracted, so there's a bunch of issues with the actual methodology that these different studies have gone through. So what I know now is that there was a more recent analysis of the meta studies, which took consistent studies, so studies that had very similar or identical methodologies in which they were using double-blind placebo studies. So that's one of the things I need to mention too, is a lot of the other studies weren't double-blind. They also didn't have consistent dosages, or they also were taking ivermectin in conjunction with other drugs, which kind of dirties the water. You don't know which one of the things is actually causing the efficacy, or if there's kind of a the drugs interacting to cause an efficacy. So it's really hard to determine what is causing some of these positive outcomes. They don't even know. They can't even say if it's ivermectin to be sure. So what happened is a Cochrane group, which is this medical institution that basically does research, does their own meta studies, and they did a meta study of, I think, 14 ivermectin studies that were double-blind placebo studies. And the studies that they did actually look at, they came to the conclusion that because even the double-blind studies that they were able to use for their meta study, even they were somewhat flawed. And when they say flawed, typically these studies have a lot of, like a huge sample size, and many of these double-blind studies did not. So what ended up happening is that they gave it a what they call low certainty or very low certainty evidence, which basically means they don't know if ivermectin actually does anything based on those double-blind studies. So what's going on now is they're actually conducting like proper studies to see if ivermectin is effective. Right now, there's no evidence to suggest that it is yet. But the studies that are being conducted now are actually going to answer that question. It's just that many of the studies that we currently have are quite sloppy, or the sample sizes aren't good, the dosages aren't good. I know one of the initial things that made people look into ivermectin as a possible solution was it had something to do with it stopping viral replication in a different virus. One of the things was that it was an animal study, and the actual dosage used to stop the replication isn't a safe dosage for humans. So there might be a way to do that, but right now it's not sure if there's a safe way to do it.
And for the studies, were they attempting to find out how effective ivermectin is as a prophylactic, as Bret Weinstein was saying, is the thing that it would be the most useful for, or for like treating COVID when you get it?
There are different studies. See, that's the other issue with the meta studies, is that you actually need to separate out these different factors. So on the one, the 14 that they were studying was its effectiveness at reducing transmission and reducing death and hospitalization. So they're mainly using the same metrics in which they judge the vaccine. You know, does it reduce death? Does it reduce transmission? Does it reduce hospitalization? So, and basically, when they're doing that, they're also can test as a prophylactic, but I'm not sure. Some of these new studies might be testing that, but they're going to try to test the same metrics that they test the effectiveness with the vaccines.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like you have a more detailed understanding of kind of the general sentiment that I have right now about it too, that there haven't been any peer-reviewed, replicated, double-blind scientific studies or even let alone meta-analyses that have showed that ivermectin is effective, like as a prophylactic or as for treating COVID. And basically, like, there have been studies that have shown it, but they've had a weak effect, and the methods are questionable, and one of the studies had to be retracted. So basically, people are exaggerating the scientific evidence for the utility of it, and most of what people are using as evidence for it is anecdotal examples from some doctors using it and subscribing it to people. And but then also, like I was saying, in terms of this aspect of Joe Rogan taking it, I think, in my opinion, some people had valid criticisms, but then also some people were getting carried away and saying, like acting like there is only one type of ivermectin that's just this horse goo, the horse dewormer, and there is no human version. And there actually are different there's a human version and a horse and a veterinary version of ivermectin. And it is the case, like, on a relatively regular basis, that humans take medications originally designed for animals or vice versa. Like my dog, for example, has epilepsy like I do, and he doesn't take the same medication as me, but he takes a human medication for it. And that's like a fairly, and that, and in the opposite way, happens as well. So yeah, like I think it seems to me like it's not scientifically valid to claim that ivermectin is very useful, but it's also not the case that Joe Rogan took like a horse dewormer. However, it also seems to be the case that vaccines are way more effective than anything else, and it makes a whole hell of a lot more sense to just take the vaccine than anything else.
Yeah, the drug itself, when people say version, it's the same drug, so it's just a different delivery system and a different dosage.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the active ingredient in the drug is the ivermectin, but they might pack some other things because of the delivery system or the dosage. But to be honest, if someone says that Joe Rogan took a horse dewormer, they wouldn't be lying, because that's what ivermectin is, and it's other things too. So it's like saying, oh, he took a blood thinner. It was aspirin. But aspirin does a lot of other shit too besides thin blood. So,
right.
Like, they didn't attribute something to the drug that is not true. So I know, but it's still, in most of these articles that I've read, they use that as like a headline grabber, and then in the article itself, they explain that there are human applications for it.
Yeah, so the headline is misleading, of course.
Yeah, so usually what people are reacting to the majority of the time are the headlines, which is what people do in general. I don't blame them. I do that sometimes too, because sometimes I just can't be bothered to read a whole article. But yeah, it's so if you tried to sue CNN, I doubt anything would come of it, because technically ivermectin, one of its functions is to deworm livestock.
Right.
So it's like saying, there's a bunch of different things that people take as drugs.
Yeah, there are many drugs that have multiple purposes. Like I take Prozac for both my depression and my OCD, because it can be used for both of those things, and sometimes people use it primarily for one or the other.
Yeah, because I know
plenty of drugs like that.
Like ivermectin is primarily known as a antiparasitic drug. So that's basically the Nobel Peace Prize was won because of its effectiveness in curing parasitic infections like river blindness and whatnot.
Yeah, actually, that's directly relevant to this comment that someone made a few minutes ago. Ivermectin has been labeled one of the triumvirate of human drugs, ranked top 3 among all time, all important essential drugs in history, along with penicillin and aspirin. I doubt that that's quite true, but if that's like you just said, the reason it won a Nobel Prize is for curing things like river blindness.
Well,
And
ivermectin, like river blindness, is not something that particularly affects first world countries.
yeah,
However, it's a big problem in the third world. Parasitic infections in general are big problems in the third world. They're not
yeah, because
problems that we usually
they don't
face.
have because they don't have clean water sources, right?
Right. So it's huge. It's huge. We just don't know it's huge because we don't have to deal with that personally, if you know what I mean. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a huge deal for the third world to have this cheap and easily accessible drug to take care of parasitic infections. But outside of that, it's not proven yet. It's not really proven for COVID, and that's what they're currently
Yeah.
trying to find out.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go and say, hey, this is the miracle cure that Corey and Weinstein have been pushing it as. There's just not enough information, because of this. Well, the meta study that came out was so flawed. From what I found a couple data scientists who were critiquing like the original meta study on how they were basically throwing all the studies in and pulling like a Theranos, like cherry picking the good stuff and not putting the bad stuff in there. So it came out as kind of not very scientific, if you know what I mean. It was like a push for like the site itself that did the meta study, like they're not even like a real research firm.
Oh, okay.
So it's like everyone points to this site. It's like and I've looked over the site and I've looked over critiques of the site, and yeah, there have been just the recent Cochrane group who's done like a proper preliminary meta study, but that's the only one right now that's credible. And they said that there still needs to be more evidence to prove. Well, they say that there's low certainty or very low certainty evidence to prove that it has some effect. But in order for it to be like accepted, it needs to have a medium to high certainty evidentiary standard, like to make sure, this stuff does work, But the studies are actually ongoing right now for that. So people just need to hold their horses about the ivermectin stuff.
Hold their horses.
Yeah, so some people like this stuff. The veterinary version is out of stock in a lot of places because people are actually taking this stuff, which is pretty crazy.
Like like people can go and get the vaccine for free, and it's more effective than ivermectin.
Well, we don't know how effective my ivermectin is. We just don't even know. Like,
that's true.
We don't have enough evidence to know if it works or if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's two vaccines too. You can take the J&J, which is not an mRNA vaccine. I know it's not approved, but I know there's been a lot of criticism of mRNA, but there's also an alternative vaccine to that, or you could just take the mRNA vaccine. So
yeah, and the claims that ivermectin that Bret Weinstein and that doctor were making about ivermectin were that it's like 90% effective as a prophylactic for COVID, and it could have prevented this surge in shit like that, which is
Yeah, the 90% is based off of the Egyptian study, which was
was the retracted one.
retracted. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think that's why it's a problem when you're touting this stuff too early before it's been proven, and you're causing like a panic. And when I say causing a panic, you know, people going to tractor supply shops and buying up all the veterinary grade ivermectin.
Yeah.
Before, and then like regular cows can't even get it because like people are buying it for themselves for human use.
Yeah.
It's not good, and I think Dr. Corey and Bret have good intentions.
Yeah.
But I think at least Bret's conspiracy mind is just taking over, and he needs to like settle down a bit.
I think so too.
Yeah, because I know Bret is prone. He's prone to conspiracy theories. Because I think one of the most, I kind of slowly discovered this over time, and like the first one that I caught him, and I was like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? He was talking about there was a BLM. Well, this is kind of like probably PTSD from his evergreen like experience just coming on. And so what happened is a BLM asked people in STEM to like not go to work for a day or something. And
right.
Yeah, and to stand in solidarity with, you know, whatever, blah, 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 George Floyd, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Bret Weinstein interpreted that to mean that Black Lives Matter wants to abolish STEM. And I was like, how do you get...
That was it. That was his reason for that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I like watched that episode of his podcast. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, abolish STEM. Yeah, sure. That makes a whole lot of sense, Bret. It didn't make any sense at all. So I was like, okay, dude. I guess if you're going to go there, I just got to take what you say with a little bit of grain of salt. Like I think his intentions are well, but now that he's been like evergreened, he seems to have much more of a tinfoil hat on at times. So now his thing is like, oh, there's like a government conspiracy to squash ivermectin. And I do think there's kind of like a media narrative as well, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's people just being partisan, because it seems that ivermectin has become a politically partisan issue now.
Certainly, yeah.
So I don't think it really has anything to do with conspiracies, so to speak. It's just once things become partisan, it almost seems that those partisan things are thrust into conspiracy-minded people as part of some type of conspiracy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like like in terms of the politicization of it, it seems to be common now that lefties are more prone to being rabidly against ivermectin, and righties are more prone to be avidly for it, and avidly against the vaccines.
And I'm not saying that there's no, like, there are anti-vaxxers on every side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, it's more like it was like anti-vaxxing originally was kind of more of like a hippie thing. Like,
yeah, like a religious
I don't like putting
thing,
unnatural things in my baby's body.
Right.
It's not like plants, bro. It'll give them autism.
Yeah, recently it's become like a political thing, which is really weird.
Yeah.
It's like everything is becoming a political thing, and it's becoming very annoying.
Yeah.
Especially like all this, like the masking stuff and the vaccine stuff. It's like, oh man. And I know there's a lot of like things that people point to is like, oh, what about Israel and blah 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 blah. I was like, well, there's an explanation for that.
What do
Because
you mean?
Israel, people are misconstruing the actual statistics of Israel. So they always point to, oh yeah, 79% of Israel's population is vaccinated, and look, they got all these breakthrough vaccinations and blah 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 blah. So it's not actually 79% of Israel's population. It's 79% of their adult population. So all the people who are kids are unvaccinated, and
Okay.
there are still unvaccinated adults also. But from what they found out in the hospitals is that about 87% of the people who are vaccinated and have a breakthrough infection are above the age of 60 and have comorbidities
That makes
and
sense.
have had the vaccine about 6 months ago. So what they're finding out is that that's why they were doing the booster shot deal, because it seems like the older folks who have comorbidities are getting breakthrough infections. And the other percentage of people who are being hospitalized are young, healthy people who didn't get the vaccine. So, of course, older people are going to always have some issues in keeping up a good defense against this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But a young vaccinated individual is highly unlikely to end up in the hospital, like extremely highly unlikely. But we are seeing a lot of young unvaccinated people ending up in the hospital. Like I do have some of my own anecdotes. Like my wife's coworker, her ex-coworker who she worked with at another school, like her husband just died. They were unvaccinated, and
Oh wow.
they were in their early 50s. And the way the reason that they got it was because they're living with their daughter, who was not really, thought the virus was basically a hoax, and just did everything that you do when you're young and you live in Florida. So she brought the virus into the home and ended up killing her dad, and the wife survived. Everyone got COVID, but their father was killed. So can you imagine mentally how that's going to affect that family?
Yeah.
And from what I understand, both her coworker and her husband wanted to get the vaccine, but they had transportation problems. But I don't know. I think that's kind of a weak excuse, to be honest. Especially in modern times where a taxi is like an Uber or Lyft away. But I don't know. It's so much of these deaths can be avoided. It's unfortunate to see that this has been so heavily politicized that people are willing to die over politics. And the politics are ridiculous. It's like stupid crap. It's not like, oh, we're going to become Nazis and I'm putting my life on the line to stop Nazism. It's literally a dumb shit about a vaccine and the China virus or whatever you want to call it. It's
the Kung Flu,
whatever. And I don't know. It's a lot of times when, and I've been looking into kind of anecdotal stories of anti-vaxxers who have basically on their deathbed, it seems like from what I've been researching, about 50% of the time, Like there's these deathbed confessions from these anti-vaxxers who said, "I wish I would have gotten the vaccine."
Right.
You know, and I'm not talking about the hardcore ones. Like the hardcore ones would never say. I'm talking about the ones who primarily have foregone the vaccine due to a political choice. I'm not talking
Right.
about like the hippy dippies or like the ones who are like super religiously against the vaccines. I'm talking about the ones that, oh, you know, I'm a Republican. I want my freedom. I don't want anyone forcing this vaccine down my throat. And Dr. Fauci's the devil, and I hate Biden, and yada yada yada. A lot of those particular people who basically shrug off the vaccine due to politics, I see a lot of them like while they're on ventilators saying, "I wish I would have gotten this vaccine." You
Right.
know, it's sad that politics, like partisanship, is just causing people to die in hospitals and ICUs because they just don't believe, or they're trying to make a political statement and not getting the vaccine. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty sad.
Yeah, for sure. So, Chris, we should give you a chance to respond here because you haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, a lot there. And sorry, I missed a bit. I had to just step out and go to the bathroom.
No problem.
But yeah.
So I know you, when we talked before, you were a little more amiable to Bret Weinstein about ivermectin and maybe vaccines, if I remember correctly, too. Although, like, full disclosure, as we all always say, all three of us have been vaccinated, despite us trying to be understanding of people's reasons that they're hesitant about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm double vaxxed. I guess going back to the ivermectin thing, I mean, yeah, I'm open to whatever happens, you know. I mean, if this doesn't end up being, you know, a cure at all, then that's totally fine with me. If it ends up being a cure, then that's fine with me. My problem is more with any kind of drug or anything that was tried over the last 18 months is it's very like immediately there's like a disgust or a shame kind of like ew, like you're mentioning, like, you know what I mean? Like even what was the other one? Anticrotal antibodies. That was the other one that people were yelling at Joe Rogan. Sorry, I probably said that wrong.
I think it's monoclonal.
Monoclonal. Sorry, that's it.
Right. Monoclonal antibodies.
That's right. Thank you. So
monoclonal.
Yeah. That I've heard like and I don't know.
Monoclonal antibodies is actually a pretty damn effective treatment. That's what they gave Trump.
Yeah, but I heard that since they gave it to Trump, people were kind of like, "Oh God, I'm not." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think that same thing with that monochrome. Oh my God, I can't even say that word.
I think the name is Regeneron. If you want to use that.
Okay, yeah, Regeneron.
Regeneron. Yeah.
But if it works, awesome. Like ultimately, I want what works, you know, or if anything works, you know, and like get the vaccine too. Again, my issue is like there's this weird, like, as soon as a medicine that's introduced into the mainstream kind of like talking or medium, people go, oh wow, you know, especially if like Rogan takes it or Trump takes it, or same thing with hydroxychloroquine. Am I saying that one right?
I think so.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's like a stigma and like, oh, fucking idiots, why are they taking this shit? And you know, oh, this doctor said this, and you know, it's just like, okay, hold on, pump the brakes for a minute. Let's just see what happens. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, you know what I mean? Let's not just like throw it out immediately because, and you know what I mean? I think, what else was tossed around there? Like, I think a lot of this comes from, you know, it was not FDA approved at the time, the vaccines I'm talking about. So there was this kind of like emergency if something else comes along that's a cure for this one, it's in the whatever they call it. Anyway, yeah, that's just my whole beef with more of the ivermectin and talk in general about medicines that we don't know if they are effective or not. Let's my whole thing is like, and I'm not a doctor, I've said that a million times and yada yada yada, but I would think that if we were being intelligent about this, that we would try different things on a virus that we don't know. I mean, let's fucking 18 months later, almost 2 years, and we're still talking about COVID today, and we're still throwing out nobody knows fuck all about this virus. And if you claim to know that I'm an expert and what's going on and I know exactly why we're to this point right now, regardless of what country you're in, then I don't know. Yeah,
I know. It's just one thing. Because, a year ago, we knew not very much about this virus. I remember right when it started, I was spraying my Amazon packages with Lysol. I kept my shoes outside.
Yeah, me too.
I changed my clothes. All of my grocery shopping was done through delivery. I wore a paint. For basically 6 months, if I had to go into a grocery store, I wore a spray paint respirator.
Yeah.
Because I just did not want to get this thing, man. You're hearing horror stories. I think a couple of my family's members got it. They got really mild cases though. But yeah, you're just hearing all these people dying and filling up ICUs and whatnot. So, but now we do have data on, efficacy of the vaccine. Millions of people have taken it. There's always going to be some risk involved with taking anything, like even ivermectin, which is safe. There's no drug that has zero adverse reactions, in 100% efficacy. Everybody's body's different. But we've had enough people take the vaccine that we know that it's pretty decent at what it does. I know it's not as effective on the Delta variant, but it's still the most effective thing that we have right now.
Yeah.
Unless they come up with some other vaccine for this Delta variant specifically, who knows? But yeah, it's just people just get crazy and they sensationalize things. I couldn't believe how many horse dewormer articles there were about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was just kind of ridiculous. I was like, yeah, he took ivermectin. I think one of the other big problems too is he got better very quickly. And there are some people are just oh, it's the ivermectin that did it.
Well, even though he said we threw the kitchen sink at it, and he listed the monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, steroids, IV drips of vitamin D and glutathione and all kinds of shit.
No, it's because the guy is a fucking tank, man. The guy has been eating amazing food for the past 30 years, works out 18 times a day, is totally fit. We're not talking about a guy that eats McDonald's every day, has a huge gut, and is 400 pounds, right? We're talking about it, so he probably has the immune system of somebody a 30-year-old or 40-year-old, right?
Yeah, probably. Exactly.
Yeah, because he was drinking the night before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think it's strange, I just don't think, because Rogan has a lot of influence. So when he says stuff he admitted that he never took the vaccine.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pin down why. Well, for what I know, his reason is if you're healthy, you don't need it. But he
still got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
like I think he's, if I remember correctly from seeing on his podcast, I don't remember for sure, but if he does think that, like, you know, him getting better so quickly is evidence that he didn't need to take the vaccine, I wouldn't say that's true, because it would have, if he had taken the vaccine, he probably wouldn't have even gotten COVID, given how
Either
effective
that,
it
or he
is.
may have been asymptomatic, or
Yeah, something
who
like
knows. But it's you can't really take individual cases and make inferences about what did what.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
you just can't really do it.
Yeah.
You have to take thousands and thousands of cases and see what the trends and results are from those.
And like with how Rogan treated it, that makes sense. Like, okay, I got COVID, might as well like take all these fucking different things that are supposed to help with it, because I want to get rid of it as quickly as possible so I don't have to suffer. That makes sense.
Right. And I know that I think there were like some false reports in the media saying that I never saw these articles myself. I only heard people talking about them. But they're saying, oh yeah, there were ICU like gunshot victims who didn't get admitted because someone OD'd on ivermectin horse paste or something like that.
Yeah, that was a Rolling Stone, wasn't it? The Rolling Stone.
I have no idea. I just heard about it. I didn't actually see the articles or anything.
Yeah,
I
heard that people were making that up or some shit like that.
Yeah, they had to retract it because it ends up being false. But yeah.
But yeah, there's like, whenever something controversial happens with Rogan, there seems to be some type of like media frenzy. I know the previous one before that was when he applied like this logic to say that, oh, there's a study that says that the vaccines increase viral replication. And the guy who actually wrote the study was like, no, this is with chickens and a completely different virus. Like, he was using this as justification of not to take a vaccine. So, you know, that's really dangerous stuff to put out there. If you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And also, like we were just talking about how healthy it is. Like, if you're worried about side effects from the vaccine, because of being so healthy, you also need to be less worried than other people about side effects from the vaccine if you're a super healthy person.
Well, and then we're talking about Rogan. So Rogan is
but that's what makes his show so popular, right? If you start to, if he was to start self-censoring himself and not, you know, like like his show is like nuts, right? So you just, and that's why people tune in, is like, I wonder what he's going to talk about today.
Of course.
Yeah, but Rogan himself, you know, he takes like stuff that's not FDA approved. Like, I think he's admitted to taking steroids and shit like that.
I'm pretty sure he's said that he's been on testosterone since his 30s.
Oh yeah, for sure. If I'm dying from a heart attack, I'm not asking for on it pills. You know what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah, speaking of on it pills, I haven't even heard him like repping on it for a while. I wonder if there's been a rift between him.
I don't know. I think he just did. I think he just doesn't mention sponsors anymore, other than there are those two new new shorter ads on his podcast on Spotify. But I think like a while ago, when he was still on YouTube, he kind of just stopped mentioning sponsors. I wonder if it's just because people just buy. He's so famous that people just buy stuff from his sponsors without him even having to mention them or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I just haven't heard anything. Like, I haven't heard about Alpha Brain in a while, or any of that. You know. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. People are still scared. Well, especially the ones that are, anti-vaccine, because right now there's no proven alternative to stopping the virus other than becoming a hermit.
Right.
Or taking the vaccine. Those are kind of your choices.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've been hearing this. I don't know if it's true or not. But I've been hearing like talk of vaccine mandates. I don't know if you've been hearing about that.
Well, you guys have like, if you have 100 or more employees at a workplace, now you have to get the vaccine. Biden announced that the other day, and that like accounts for 80 million employed Americans. So, yeah. And here in Ontario, where I live, we're implementing a vaccine kind of certificate passport system, which, I mean, I don't know. My Dunbar 150 that surrounds me, a majority of those people are like, what the fuck are we doing? And this is atrocious. Even if majority of people have been double vaxxed too. So
yeah. I think the mask mandates got reinstituted in my province in Alberta recently too, and that's a popular thing that the candidates are talking about for the upcoming Canadian federal election, whether they are wanting to institute vaccine mandates or not. I think I remember the conservative guy was talking about how that he was going to say something like offering either like the option of either vaccine mandates, or if you don't want to get vaccinated, you can continue working from home instead and then have weekly COVID tests. I think that makes sense to be able to have that choice if you want to. And then also, like, I understand, I kind of understand the motivation behind like, you know, vaccine, but whatever you call them, like vaccine or passports or something, like having to show evidence of being vaccinated when you go to a restaurant or something. I forget what the term is. But like, I don't that concept is like, I just find that concept annoying because like, what am I going to have to fucking get all this paperwork to show people that I've been vaccinated twice every time I go anywhere? Like, I don't like that thing. Like you and I have talked before, Chris, about how, you know, just all like this sort of authoritarian impulse kind of just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, it's time for me, this is just me talking, me personally. It's time to pump the brakes and put a stop to this kind of like overreach of government now to this point. Like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, went to please wear masks, went to mandating masks, went to please get the vaccine, to now please, we've just gone like this, right? And so I'm sympathetic to those that are like, you know, weary of government overreach, and it's a fucking mess, man. I don't know what else to say. And it's a mess not just only in Canada, but where Dusty is in the US as well, right? Cases are still rising, vaccines are out there. Canada is like, after Israel, we're one of the highest vaccinated countries, Western countries out there, and our cases are rising, right? So, and the government's still doing these kind of sloppy moves. It's like here in town, there's bars are if you have to come in, you're gonna have to show your vaccine passport, but the owner of the bar can't ask its employees whether or not they've been double vaxxed or not. So you could be unvaccinated and work in that establishment, but people that come in the door, right? And we've seen these holes in this kind of science before, especially with restaurants, dude. Sitting down, I can take my mask off, have a beer, no problem, but get up to the bathroom, mask on. You know, this is just like nonsense, right? But yet we're still following along with this, and it goes further and it goes further and further and further. And like we talked about before, I'm double vaxxed, but as far as mandating vaccinations anywhere, I think that's a huge no.
Yeah.
I don't think it does anything to stop the virus, and I think it just does nothing but divide its citizens even more on these kind of issues. And I think it just takes away your kind of your own agency and your ability to choose what goes in your body. I mean, if they make it, you can't travel, you can't even work now. Like in the US, if you work at like Amazon or like KFC or something like that, right? And you're over 100 employees, you have to get double vax. Maybe you just had COVID a week ago and your antibodies are fucking amazing, and you're going to be well more protected than that person that just had a AstraZeneca shot like 9 months ago, right? So there's so many factors here at play, and for the government to just step in and go, this is what we're doing, and you guys listen to it, or else there's going to be $14,000 fines. You're going to be, you know, like, I don't know. You're going to make small businesses give COVID tests to its employers and people that walk through the door every other week, or it's just, I don't know. It sounds politically amazing if they're doing it for brownie points, maybe, but it's just like when you implement that in real life, it doesn't work out. It causes citizens to be very angry at just change like that. We don't like change as human beings, right? So anyway, I'm ranting, so I'll shut up.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, do we just let the unvaccinated like die in hospitals? I guess if that's their choice.
Yeah, we let smokers die, right? So what's the difference there?
Not much. Like, to be honest.
We let obese people that eat Wendy's every day, have heart transplants. We let, the guy from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young has had like 18 liver transplants, and he's a complete alcoholic. So doctor's not going to say no to that shit. If you have the money to pay for it, you're going to get that shit done. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the only situation I could think of is that like anecdote I had about my sex coworker, who their daughter like went out and partied and whatever and bought the vaccine or bought the virus in and killed like one of her parents with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, it's kind of like those situations typically that I think that they're kind of targeting. And you got like kids that have like these crazy parents that are super anti-vax, and then both parents die.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy. Like the kid, like it's almost feel like that their parents are being irresponsible for the offspring that they're leaving behind there, because they didn't want it. They thought that COVID was a hoax. Like I saw this one article, and it was an LGBT couple, and they had like 6 kids between them, and one of them was like a hardcore anti-vaxxer and died.
Wow, hardcore anti-vaxxer LGBT person? That should be like a huge headline.
It was really interesting because she was like
conservatives.
She was the breadwinner of the family. She was a lesbian.
Wow.
And she was like a God-fearing lesbian. So she had like all of these like Bible quotes in like her Facebook posts and stuff.
Oh wow.
So it's like the most random, like weird combination that you could think of. And she died and they left behind 6 kids,
Wow.
And yeah, like after that happened, like the site that I follow that kind of tracks these stories, like even the site I follow is typically pretty malicious towards these people. But in this particular instance, they were like, hey, there's a GoFundMe, like these kids need help. Try to donate to this GoFundMe. So they're typically pretty callous when it comes to like people that don't leave kids behind. But once there's like kids involved, you'll hear them talking about GoFundMe, like donations. Like there's this pretty sucky one that I found recently. I think the guy died a couple days ago, and his Facebook profile was public. So on the death announcement from the guy's ex-wife, there are like 500 plus like laughing emojis.
Holy
on
shit,
the death
that's
announcement.
awful.
I was like, dude, that's fucked up. Like,
that reminds me of how like when Rogan got COVID, some of the most extreme critics were wanting him to fucking die from COVID. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? That's so fucked up.
That's dumb. Like Joe is mostly like harmless. He's not advocating for violence or anything like that. He's not telling people to not take the vaccine either. Like, no. I'm pretty sure every time he said if you're young and healthy, you don't need to take it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he's
So
not like against people taking it, I guess I should say.
if you're not young and healthy, yeah, he says you
Yeah.
should take it. But if
Yeah.
you're quote unquote young and healthy, you shouldn't take it. That's what he says. And he kind of, there is a little bit of a point there, because I was looking into vaccine side effects, and it looks like people in the range of like adolescent to very young adults seem to have more complications with the vaccine than older people do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that myocarditis or whatever tends to happen in younger males.
What's
So,
myocarditis again?
It's like an inflammation of the heart.
Oh, okay. That makes
it's
sense with the
typically not fatal.
carditis.
Yeah, it's typically not fatal, but it's one of the side effects of the vaccine.
Okay.
But mainly though, it's not gonna, and that's why they're saying like booster shots may not always be recommended. They're trying to figure out who should be taking boosters, and it's usually people over 60.
Yeah, we should talk about those booster shots a little bit more, because I know when you and I talked before, Chris, we were talking about how we both took both of the first two, but the third one, like when are they going to end? But yeah, I think you had maybe commented on it on the Mixed Mental Arts page, I think, Dusty, and you said they need to maybe keep coming out with new shots when there are new variants of the vaccines, because when there are new variants, the older ones are less effective. And
yeah, if it's a booster of the same exact shit I got, I don't really want it.
Right.
If they get like a new like Delta vaccine, I'll take it. I don't believe I'll need a booster of the same shit I got, because my immune system ain't that weak. You still have, your immune system has a pretty long memory. So if I got into contact with COVID, my immune system would know what to do. Like I got the shot, I had zero reaction to it. Like I don't know, how were you guys' reaction to the shot?
Well, with mine, the first one I had no side effects. The second one, I took a different one. I don't remember which one I took which time, but Moderna was the second one I took, I guess. And I did get mild side effects from that. The next day, I felt really tired and drained, and my arm was really stiff where I got vaccinated. That was what I got for side effects from the second one.
Okay. I didn't get any. My wife got some on the second vaccine. The second day was hard, really sore arm, a little bit feverish. But yeah, we just need to see like what's up with this booster situation, because from what I've been reading, it's not really applicable to people under the age of 60 unless you have like a compromised immune system.
Yeah, I was just going to say something to that effect, basically. I've heard that so far people are making I'm pretty sure here in like Canada in general, or at least in Alberta, they're trying to make them mostly available to older people or immune compromised people, which makes sense.
Yeah, so yeah, boosters, they're not for people of our age or people of our health status. It's not for us. But hey, if they come out with a Delta shot, I'll take that shit.
That makes sense.
And maybe and I think they're working on a Delta shot, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see what happens. But by the time the Delta shot comes out, there's going to be a new variant. I think the problem that they're having now is that since we're not able to eradicate this in a timely manner, there's going to be a bunch of variants that we have to deal with.
Yeah, that's going to be so politicized too, if that continues to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. It's
Yeah.
definitely going to be pretty annoying. People are
Yeah.
going to be pretty pissed off about. They're going to misunderstand the booster because you have the government that might misunderstand what the booster's for, and it's like, oh, everybody needs the booster when it's not the case. We know that sometimes the government doesn't do a good job at thinking of contingencies and all the different things that may happen, like the wizard's second rule, unintended consequences.
Right.
Because I know, like early on, there were quote unquote essential businesses and unessential businesses, and some of them would be, in fact, like little mom and pop like shops, and they would have to close, but you'd have like a Walmart superstore that's open that doesn't
Yeah.
have to shut down. So
Yeah.
I think we kind of, at least in the United States, figured that out for the most part. So right now we don't really have any, there's no lockdowns at all occurring. And people should be happy that there are no lockdowns. I don't think we would be able to go back to a lockdown without any significant social upheaval.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think lockdowns are pretty much being avoided at all costs here. I know they're still going on in other countries. Like I know Australia and New Zealand are pretty crazy when it comes to lockdown stuff, and you already see people over there are protesting in the streets and stuff. I think Biden knows that a lockdown would basically tank his presidency, so he's not even entertaining it because his approval rating is so low right now. That I think one of the things why he's doing the mandate is that he doesn't want to go the route of Trump, which was Trump lost because of his poor performance in regards to the coronavirus. I think the coronavirus is basically what defeated Trump.
Yeah, me too.
And I think Biden is doing everything in his power to not follow that same path, which is why they're doing those mandates. It's like, I don't know, man. Well, you know what would happen? If he did the mandates, and despite of the mandates, the economy was booming, people wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's also
as long as people have their money and they're living their life, largely they won't care. I think it's all about, it really just comes down to economics. Are people doing well economically? And if they're not, that's when he's going to have trouble being reelected, even though I don't think he should run again. He's just too goddamn old.
Yeah.
And I don't want Harris to run either. Jesus. And what, Trump is running again, from what I hear?
Yeah, if it's like Trump versus Kamala Harris, who the hell's going to win that? Like, I think Trump would win again.
I don't know. It depends, Geez. It really does depend. To me, it would be kind of a coin toss. I have no idea. It depends on how well this pandemic is handled by the time election time happens. There's so many factors. Like if the pandemic never happened, Trump would still be in office, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Although I think if it comes down to Trump and Kamala, I think he wins hands down, just because, like, where is she been for the last 6 months? And
well, that's what we have to see. It's usually the last. We'll probably have to take a look at that in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it'd be kind of too early to tell what would happen. The election happened right now. Their approval ratings are so low, then Trump would win. But I don't know what's going to happen in 2023. What the atmosphere is going to be like by then, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I get the sense that, and this is just my gut telling me this, but I get the sense like he knows either his time is up, either like both cognitively, because if you've seen any of his interviews lately, he's like lost in space. But also like midterms are coming up as well, and yeah, since approval rating is so low that I'm wondering if he's just, let's pull out of Afghanistan, which we talked about before, Andrew, that I like I like that move that he did, even though it was sloppy as fuck.
Yeah. I think all three of us agree on that pretty much.
Yeah,
we were
for
going to
sure.
talk
But
about
he's
that
like
too.
doing that, and then it's mandating the employee thing. I think he's just trying to like get as much like, hey, I tried my best to tackle COVID as I could. I pulled out of Afghanistan. I got the troops out of there when I could. He wants to like leave, and it makes sense. The guy's been in office for fucking longer than I've been alive on this planet Earth, right? So he wants to leave a good legacy behind, I would think. But
I think the Afghanistan pullout's going to be the highlight of his legacy.
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah.
At the same time, I also think I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that are behind the wheel there. I don't even actually think that he's running any. You know what I mean? Like, I think that he's not a puppet being controlled with strings, but like I think that the DNC runs that kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
I think
basically the same as Trump. Like, he has a shitload of advisors.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
come in and they give him advice, and he picks and chooses what advice he thinks is the best.
That's right.
Yeah. It seems it seems to me like with him pulling out of Afghanistan, that was. It seems to me like that's one thing he actually cares about. Yeah, that seems to be one thing that he actually cares about, which is one of the few things that I like about Biden.
Yeah, I like that he's basically, giving the military-industrial complex a big middle finger.
Yeah.
And he basically he stuck to his guns, throughout all of the press conferences that he did.
Yeah, most of the presidents pussy out when they say they're going to pull out of the wars.
Yeah, because Trump was a huge flip-flopper. We saw him flip-flop on a bunch of different issues, but Biden was just like, nope, we're getting these people out, and we don't need to be there wasting trillions and trillions of dollars and lives, and let's just fuck it, That's why this place is called the Graveyard of Empires. Nobody wins there. There's no reason to be there. But I'm glad that we're out. All this, like, as far as like the pullout, I think what he did was understandable, and what he actually accomplished was pretty admirable. And when I say accomplished, how many people were evacuated? Like,
hasn't it been like 100,000 now or something?
Yeah, it was like over 100.
Crazy high amount.
Yeah, it was a lot of people. And he actually got the Taliban to work with us to get these people out.
And then people use that to criticize him.
I don't know why. It's just
he's working with the Taliban, man. Yeah, you know why?
Yeah, that's their legitimate government now. We have to like get their assistance to get these people out. And from what I understand, they're trying to modernize, but there's still got problems. And I've heard that people are still getting killed, and there's still like a lot of retaliation against some people that were interpreters. I know from what I heard, it's not sanctioned by the government. They're just kind of loose guns that are doing their thing. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with Afghanistan. I'm just glad we're out and we're just not wasting our time and money there. And for me, like, the biggest disaster of the whole thing is that we paid a shitload of money, spent a shitload of money to give the Taliban a bunch of shiny new weapons.
Yeah.
And then half the shit that we left there, they're not even going to be able to use.
I think the worst part is all the people that died throughout like the 20 years that America was there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the
And
worst. I'm just talking about like the pullout
the
specifically.
pullout, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah, that's the most sloppy part of it, and like when presidents have said that they were pulling out before, they left weapons there, which they kind of used as an excuse to go back in there before. So that's why some people were hesitant when Biden said that he was going to pull out of Afghanistan, because that was the way. Like, if you're actually going to commit to it, he should have like actually not just wasted all that money on the military equipment.
well, it was a actually it was the intelligence agencies that fucked up there.
Oh, okay.
And the military, because they're, oh yeah, we got all these Afghanis trained and they're going to be able to fight the Taliban, and they outnumber them 3-1, and they got our modern weaponry here. They should be fine. And no, they folded
They
like
sure-
they folded like a shitty piece of toilet paper. It did not go well. They basically just handed their weapons to the Taliban, because I think what happened is just the Taliban rolled up to their different installations and said, "Hey, give us your weapons, and you will live, and we won't retaliate." And that's basically what they did. Because here's what happened: the government abandoned them. So they're the ones that were the ones to jet first. All the government officials left the country, and they left the military there without a leadership structure. So it's
the leader, like the president or the prime minister, absconded with like tens of millions of dollars or something like that.
Yeah, all the upper leadership left. So imagine if in United States, if like Congress and the White House just kind of fucking left, like, and then what the fuck would happen, right? You'd have to leave it up to like your mayors and shit. And what if those people were like, oh yeah, the Taliban, yeah, we're just going to give them their weapons, and then because there's not much we could do, you know?
Like, from their perspective, that makes sense. Like,
well, that, and like the Afghan government was so corrupt. There were some places that were actually inviting the Taliban in. Like, it was a corrupt ass government. And that sucks that, you know, we spent all this money and did all this shit that we shouldn't have been doing in the first place, like nation building. And it amounted to nothing but a corrupt puppet government that took the money and left as soon as a little bit of trouble came in.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of should have seen that a mile away. I was trying to catch up on like Horton's podcast, and he's basically have been saying this for a long time.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Chris and I have talked about him before. I just started listening to his podcast recently because Dave Smith talks with him all the time and is always recommending him. And he talks about foreign policy every day with all sorts of different anti-war foreign policy experts. And yeah, he's been basically saying a lot of the, like, basically I'm getting a lot of my good points about it from him, I would say.
Yeah, I tried to find his book in any of my libraries, but I couldn't find any. None of my libraries have his book.
It might have only been, I wonder if it's like only published through the Libertarian Institute, and maybe that's why it's hard to find.
Like, my library recognizes that his book exists, but they don't carry it.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like, oh, it's so obscure that my library doesn't know it exists. It's in their database, but it shows up as not owned. Like, all the libraries show up as not owned, and he shows up as an author, but none of the libraries have his book.
Okay.
So,
do you mean his newest one? Enough
the
already?
The Afghanistan one. Yeah.
Okay. Because the one that. Okay, because the other one that's, I think his one that's specifically about Afghanistan is Fool's Errand, or I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was looking for. I was looking for Fool's Errand, and they say they acknowledge its existence, but they just don't carry it.
Okay. Yeah, his podcast is great, And I respect how anti-war he is. Like in terms of the whole Afghanistan thing, really, like it shows. Like I respect the people who like basically are for Biden pulling out of Afghanistan, regardless of their political affiliation. Like Scott Horton and Dave Smith are libertarians who are like supporting Biden and doing that and criticizing him for all the things that they don't like about him, even though they're certainly not Democrats. And then there are like progressives like Kyle Kalinske who are praising Biden for pulling out of Afghanistan, even though he criticizes things about him.
Oh yeah, he criticizes them about everything except Afghanistan.
yeah, exactly.
And he's, I don't know, it's just like, man, call them like the anti-war folks. So there's the libertarian anti-war folks and the like progressive anti-war folks, and then you got like kind of the I guess the mainline Democrat and Republican who are kind of pro-war, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because, you have the Democrats who were praising Trump for like bombing Syria, which was kind of fucking weird. And you have, I think there was like this one segment of like someone bombing the Taliban or dropping like the Moab on like some mountains, and like, oh man, they were just like in awe about the bomb. It's like, they're like, there's like people blowing up under that thing. It's not something to be like celebrating.
It's funny that there's like bipartisan support in the mainstream media against pulling out of Afghanistan. Bipartisan warmongering.
It's like, that's why his approval's so low. I guess it's that in combination with like the COVID stuff, but I think more so with the pulling out, because you have both like mainstream Democrats and conservatives pillaring him. Oh, he should have did it differently. It's like, and whenever I ask that, like nobody has a great solution on what that means. It's like, okay, so if he doesn't differently, what do you mean by differently? Like, what should he have done exactly here?
Yeah, I don't think there would have been a perfect way to get out of there, right? You don't exit.
Not really. Like, you just have to get out. Like, people saying, oh, he should have slowly got out, but slowly getting out is not getting out.
Yeah, they had made a deal with the Taliban and had to extend it, from what I understand, right? So
yeah, I think Trump wanted to get them out in May or March or something like that, and
that's right.
And then the Taliban allowed us to extend it to the end of August.
Yeah, one of the only things I like about both Trump and Biden is one of the only things that I like about either of them. That they wanted to get out of Afghanistan. Yeah.
I think it was great that. Well, I think aside from Yemen, that's unfortunate that we're allied with, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, like the geopolitics in the Middle East just kind of pissed me off for the most part. We just kind of ally with atrocious people over there. And we try to take the moral high ground when it comes to, Afghanistan. I was like, oh, what about the women? And how they're going to be treated with the Taliban. I was like, yeah, we support Saudi Arabia, who does the exact same shit.
And also like the previous leadership that they were supporting did the same kind of fucking shit too. Like they had child sex slaves and shit like that, right?
Yeah, like if you ever want to see a good documentary about Afghanistan, and it's basically I won't even call it a documentary. It's almost like a reality show, because someone just takes a camera and they're like with a unit. The movie is called Restrepo. I don't know. Have any of you seen this?
No.
It's
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Rogan's mentioned it before, but it's basically they have an embedded unit, right? And in the embedded unit, you have all these soldiers just being candid. You know, they're not like buttoned up like what you would expect when like a reporter comes around for a day. So everyone like behaves differently. So you see like all these soldiers behaving candidly and what the real situation on the ground was. And in that documentary, they talk about like the freaking like pedophiles that they align with, like the rapists. It's pretty gross that they had to align with these types of people and like the drug trafficking that was going on, and how unreliable some of the Afghan soldiers were. Like some of them ended up being like traitors, and they would turn and shoot on some of the U.S. soldiers. It's a crazy like documentary. I would recommend it if you wanted to see like a first-person account of what it was like hanging around in Afghanistan for like a month.
Oh, have I heard of that? Because the guy that was involved with making that is Sebastian Junger, who's written a lot of books.
Did he? Was he involved in Restrepo?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look that up. I thought I remembered because I've seen him on Joe Rogan's podcast a bunch of times. I thought I remembered him at least talking about that, or maybe that he was involved with it.
Yeah,
that
because
was
I think
like. Did you guys watch it? Did you guys read his book about war called War?
no, only one I read was the Tribes.
Yeah, Sebastian Junger.
No, I know of him.
Okay.
I haven't read any of his books.
I think I read Tribes and War. I think those were the two of his books that I read. I'm gonna go to. Oh yeah, directed by Tim Hetherington and Sebastian Junger. There you go.
Okay.
I thought I remembered that. Okay. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I should see if I can find that somewhere.
Mm. But I wanted to double back on something regarding COVID. I thought it was weird. The Rhonda Patrick and Rogan at the end of it, because he was getting like super defensive. That's just kind of strange.
He's like, that's what. Yeah, one thing I was talking about. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk more about the Alex Jones breaking up with Trump over Trump saying that he took the vaccine.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, but yeah, that was that when I was watching that Joe Rogan episode with Rhonda Patrick. It was so obvious to me, like, holy shit, man, you're really ideologically for ivermectin and like hesitant about the vaccines. Like she was explaining all this data like you were earlier, basically. And it seemed like it was just kind of like going in one ear then out the other.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, it's like she was providing kind of like trends and broad range data, and he was always coming back with anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I knew a guy who got the myocarditis, and oh yeah, I knew this person who got it. Or, you know, using his personal like anecdotal evidence versus like the broad details of, you know, a large sample size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like we were talking about before.
And I remember him discussing a case where one of his young athlete friends got a really bad case of it. So I don't know why he's saying that young, healthy people have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I remember earlier in the pandemic, he was talking about that on his podcast. One of his friends who's like a really super healthy athlete getting it. Yeah. Yeah,
and there was an MMA fighter that had to retire because they caught it and they never really fully recovered from it.
Yeah, Brendan Schaub get it too?
Yeah. Remember. I think all three of us probably talked about before about how he was talking about how he went to his doctor who said, I could give you hydroxychloroquine, but it's political. So what's her political affiliation? And he's like, I don't fucking care. I want some shit that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I remember hearing about that. But yeah, they call it the jab. The jab is like what the conservatives call it or whatever.
The jab.
I'm not going to get the jab.
It makes it sound like an STD.
Yeah. Like,
I got the jab, man. Oh, you got the jab? Oh.
But yeah, we're gonna
what do you guys think about oh yeah. What do you guys think about Alex Jones freaking out and breaking up with Trump because Trump said, I got the vaccine, I like the vaccine, it's good.
He's full of shit because he's broken up with Trump a number of different times.
Yeah, keeps coming back.
I totally missed that. So what happened?
Well, Trump at one of
rally.
One of his rallies, Trump said something like, "I took the vaccine. I like the vaccine. It's good." And then the whole crowd was booing him, and he said, "I know. But if it doesn't work, I'll be the first to tell you. I'll call up Alabama and say, hey, Alabama, it's not working. What's going on?"
And he got booed or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, he got booed by the crowd. The crowd booed him because he said that he liked the vaccine and he took it.
Yeah, Trump supporters are more anti-vaccine than Trump.
Well, I would think that he would have to back it because it came out under his presidency, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he was the one that was pushing the development of it.
Yeah.
And then this is so weird because you have conservatives are like, oh, the government is pushing this vaccine. And then on the other hand, you hear them, oh, you got to give Trump credit for creating the vaccine. It's you got to pick one or the other, dude.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you. What do you think of the recall in California right now?
I think that whole thing is so hilariously politicized.
Well, here's the thing about California, as I used to live there. There are recalls literally all the time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And the reason there are recalls all the time is because in a recall election, you only need a plurality and not a majority.
Right. Okay.
So that's basically the only way that a Republican can make it into as a governor in California, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh,
which I think Arnold did win a recall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I heard someone say that. I don't know if it's true, but I heard someone say that.
But I think if Arnold ran head-to-head with, I think it was Gray Davis, who was I think he would have won anyway, because Arnold just is he's charismatic. It's freaking Arnold. Who wouldn't want the governor? He has that name recognition. That's what we called him, the governor. But,
I'm the governor. I've come here to govern you.
Yeah, he was a Republican, but he's probably my favorite governor of California. How you have this badass movie star who fucks people up in movies, and he runs your states. Almost, another governor I also liked was Jesse Ventura.
I was gonna ask you about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah. But Jesse Ventura is a super hardcore conspiracy theorist, though.
Yeah, he really is. He had that conspiracy theory show.
Yeah. I almost met him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I remember I told you about when I had that girlfriend who was all into conspiracy theories and shit.
Oh, yeah.
She was an aspiring writer, and she was trying to get an interview with Jesse Ventura because there was a Navy SEAL reunion in the city that I lived in, and supposedly he was going to show up there. So we were staking out this Navy SEAL reunion at a bar.
Wow.
So that she could try to talk to him about his conspiracy theory shit.
Oh, wow.
So it was fun though. The bar there, like playing rockabilly music, is pretty fun.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she was waiting for him to show up.
So in terms of this this recall thing, like the thing I find the most hilarious about it is like, what was that? There was like an LA Times article calling Larry Elder the blackface of white supremacy. Just so fucking hilarious. Like,
well,
I'm not Larry Elder's biggest fan. I like him. I like him a lot more than someone like Candace Owens or something, but like a lot less than someone like Glenn Lowry or Thomas Sowell. But like, he's calling him a white supremacist is so fucking hilarious. That's so ridiculous.
yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah.
I think he's just a standard conservative that's playing up like the identity politic angle of it.
Yeah.
As much as you might think, oh, identity politics, all those people who are against it are playing up it in the opposite direction usually.
Yeah, there's certainly cancel culture on the right too. Definitely.
Yeah, because you've heard like those Dave Rubin clips where he says, "Oh, I'm against blah blah blah," and then next thing you know, he's using like the same like arguments.
This
As a
Dr.
gay
Seuss
person,
these Dr.
as a
Seuss
gay
stuff.
person, I object, and then he's talking about like identity politics. Like,
As a gay person, I'm really offended by this Lil Nas X video where he twerks on Satan.
yeah. Or as a gay Jew, yeah. Like, as soon as you say "as a blah blah blah," you're injecting some identity politics into it.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, what do you think about the whole recall thing?
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm just like an outsider looking in, kind of curious to see what's going on. I wonder what's going to happen there. I mean, I from what I hear is that even if Elder wins, he's going to have like no power whatsoever. But like, again, what governor does have like really, you know what I mean, a lot of power.
Well, yeah. Gavin screwed up big time. And his gaffes are there's a couple different things. It's his hypocrisy that people are.
Yeah, they don't like him being like not a mask in the wine restaurant or whatever, right? So.
Yeah, and the thing about the recall elections, it takes so little amount of signatures to start a recall election. All you need is like 10% of like the conservatives to sign the petition, and boom, you got a recall election. It's not that hard.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But once a governor fucks up, it's easier for conservatives to be outraged and to sign petitions about that. But yeah, recall elections happen all the time. Or at least bids to do a recall election, because sometimes they fail. Like they're not allowed, they don't get enough signatures or things like that.
Yeah. I don't think like Elder's going to come in and like, you know, make California what it was.
Well, I don't think Elder, I don't know. I heard from somebody that lives there who's like an old ass ancient boomer who's super anti-woke, and I think was pro-Elder. He's saying like, oh, I don't think Elder's has a shot now or something.
Well, maybe Caitlyn Jenner will take it.
Oh my god.
That'd be
usually
that's another identity politics. That's another identity politics thing for conservatives. Look, it's a transgender woman. Let's all go around telling everyone about how she's transgender.
Yes. It's dumb. Caitlyn Jenner, please. Are you serious? Why? Well, that's California, though. You always have like crazy people coming out of the woodwork to run for a recall election.
Yeah.
I remember when Arnold was on the ballot, there was like over 100 people on the freaking ballot. So
Holy shit! Really? Wow.
yeah. Like I know a YouTuber that put his name on the election, like was running for governor. It's super.
Okay.
From what I heard, it's super easy to get on the ballot. Why is your face stuck like that? You look like someone just shoved a broomstick up your ass. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, your face was like stuck in a weird expression.
Oh, I guess I froze.
You're moving on my screen, but you're very pixelated. So.
Oh, okay.
On my screen, you had like a huge wide open mouth, like someone just like rammed a broomstick up your ass or something. I was like, dude, what happened? Yeah, that Larry Elder stuff. I was like, Larry Elder, that's just like a culture war dude. I don't want any fucking culture war dudes running for any office. Like Larry Elder is not someone that's gonna unite people. Like I want people that's gonna try to work with both sides and not be like an asshole.
He's super fucking partisan for sure.
Yeah. Because he's just gonna be called Uncle Tom by every black person in California.
Exactly.
Call him Uncle Tom Elder or whatever they call him.
I think every white person's probably going to call him that.
Yeah, because I know I jokingly call Thomas Sowell Uncle Tom because that literally fits.
Because his name's literally Tom. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of these crazy, divisive people that want to be leaders. Like, in order to be the leader, you gotta unite people for a common cause. Like, this partisan shit is not working out for America right now.
Yeah, and it's what everyone keeps falling back on too.
Yeah, it's like all this partisan shit. This is like why we got 600,000 dead people here from COVID. Fucking partisan bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, in
Canada.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And there was like something that I was watching. Who was it? It was like on an interview show, and someone was talking to somebody. I don't know if it was Bill Maher or something else. One of those like mainstream interview shows. And someone was asking him about like partisanship, and they're like, well, what we need is some foreign power that fucks with us so that we just get united, because that's the only way we get united in the United States.
That's like the motivation for the villain in Watchmen.
Yeah, basically. It's kind of true. Like, the only time the Americans come together is when we're attacked by some outside threat.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Like September the 11th was the last time you guys actually were. Although I haven't said that, I think a lot of people were united on this Afghanistan pullout. I saw a lot
that
of
too.
Conservatives and lefties agreeing that this was a complete fucking shit show the way it all went down, and how, you know, all those Marines that died, all those the 13 that died, you know, like I saw a lot of on both sides saying the same thing. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, that's the job. It's what are they gonna do? It's not like the Taliban attacked us. It's freaking ISIS-K, and the Taliban is not friendly to ISIS-K. The Taliban, we were actually helping the Taliban fight ISIS. So it's really
switch back and forth between every side so many times. Like, for and against the Taliban, for and against ISIS, for and against Al Qaeda, along with each of those, like with the Taliban against Al Qaeda, with the Taliban against ISIS, with ISIS or Al Qaeda against the Taliban, or vice versa. Every combination.
Yeah, I think it's just a crisis that the Taliban is trying to shirk their image from 20 years ago. You know, like they're doing these press conferences and saying, "Oh, we're a different Taliban now.
We're woke now, bro. We're all about like women's rights and stuff, yo.
Yeah,
we're the virtuous Taliban. Aren't we so progressive?"
Yeah, it's we'll see. Like I'm not angry that we left. I'm happy.
Yeah,
happy that we don't have to throw a bunch of money over there. I don't know. Did you guys have any troops invested in that effort?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are Canadian soldiers, like kind of most places where the American military is, but like a significantly smaller number of them. Like
Right.
my friend who's in the Canadian military was telling me about how he was in Germany for a little while, I think. I didn't even know Canadian troops were there until he told me that.
Oh, because I know there's some U.S. bases in Germany.
Yeah.
Was he at a U.S. base?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know.
I'm guessing that most of these bases that are being used are just U.S. bases. Like you guys have like Canadian bases in Germany. It just sounds weird.
We have like very little military funding. Like he was telling me that sometime once a year they fire one of these like massive cannons because they never use it for war anymore, and it costs $1 million to fire it. So they just do it. They just do it just because they can. They just do it for no reason once a year.
So they shoot off that $100 million load every year?
Million, not 100 million.
Oh, $1 million load. Why does it cost so damn much to shoot a cannon?
I have no idea.
Or is it like $1 million bullets that it uses, or what the hell?
I have no idea. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it must be all of the parts, and I don't know.
Yes, let's do our $1 million shot. It's our money shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a Canadian cannon that they shoot?
I don't know. That's a good question, too. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we're both on American bases and using American equipment or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me.
Interesting. I'm just like tired of this global war shit. I'm like, man, it's such a waste of money.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
Like with all the money that was wasted in Afghanistan, we could have had universal health care for like 30 years.
Yeah. And a whole bunch of other things that lefties talk about a lot too, although I know you've said that they kind of exaggerate or underestimate the cost of some things, but some things could have been accomplished for sure, in terms of like, you know, helping homeless people, improving like Medicare, and improving infrastructure and all sorts of other shit.
Yeah, like completely neglecting domestic issues.
Yeah,
in favor of spending all this money on the military, and got us nothing in Afghanistan. Then we spent like 20 million or 20 trillion. Well, what was it, 2 trillion? Estimated?
Yeah, I think it was 2 trillion, something like that.
Jesus, man, like all that
fucking
money.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I don't know, it sucks. It's just like a waste of money for nothing. Like I understand, it's a funny thing. It's not really a waste, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, it all went to the companies.
Well,
it all went to
they do
weapons
create
manufacturers.
jobs.
Yeah.
Like my weekend job is is basically because it's tied to the military-industrial complex.
Right.
I don't know if Afghanistan is... Well, I'm pretty sure they had contracts in Afghanistan here.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot of money and jobs tied into bombing people overseas.
That's for sure.
It's sad.
Yeah, it really is.
Need to find some way to rework this system. Oh, great. Another call.
You need a phone call? Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bombs make the moolah, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hopefully, like, jobs can be provided for people in a better way, like maybe doing some of those things that we were talking about, like providing people jobs, working on improving infrastructure rather than on like building weapons for war to kill people in a country where America should not have been for the past 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, like I think this I think that goes for a lot of things though, like war aside. I think, like, especially in the United States, they could probably, and here in Canada, we could probably get more of our, components and that kind of stuff instead of getting it all shipped from China and big massive containers. It would be nice to just like get it manufactured here in North America.
All right, sorry about that phone call.
Same with like apples and fruits and vegetables. Like I was eating an apple the other day, and it's like from Chile or whatever, right? Like, we should be, I'm getting way off topic here, but yeah, we should be concentrating on manufacturing and producing our own stuff within North America as opposed to getting it shipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess nobody wants to pay those prices. Like I work for a company where people buy a lot of cheap Chinese bullshit, and I don't understand why people call and they're surprised that their shit doesn't work. Yeah, you paid $5.99 for some Bluetooth headphones. How do you think the quality of that is going to be?
Yeah, that's a total get what you paid for market for sure. A lot of electronics is like that. Computers, you're spending $2,000 on a MacBook versus, $200 on a whatever, like shitty Chromecast or something like that. And it's a get what you paid for market. So,
well, even worse is that a lot of the products, I don't know how many, but many of those like online only products are not contracted companies in China. They are Chinese companies. So you try to get a warranty from them, and it's nigh impossible because they don't give a shit about the warranties for their products.
Oh, okay.
It's like, yeah, you can try to call this Chinese company. Good luck.
Yeah, you're just gonna get put on. You're gonna get put on hold for like 4 hours, and then
Yeah,
sorry, I don't understand English. What you say?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't give refunds.
Oh no, they'll dick people around about their non-existent like 3-year warranties. It's I don't know. When you're shopping online, you got to be a little bit of a smarter consumer.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what they're doing for the most part, especially like over the age of 60. Like, oh, you're Amazon. Everything that you sell is from you guys. It's like, nope, this is a marketplace. It's like saying, it's like if you go to a mall, you don't tell the owner of the mall, I want to return this thing. It's like, no, you got to go to the store in the mall. And Amazon is like a giant mall with a bunch of little sellers in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you can call us, but the only thing we're going to do is tell the person who's responsible what you told me. So it's not really an effective way. You can do that yourself.
Yeah, you're just going to
you don't have to call me to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I get paid to do it, whatever. But yeah, there's a lot. I don't know. You just got to, like, name brands do mean something, even though, hey, there's a markup. There's a reason there's a markup on some of those things. It's because they have a great, manufacturer warranty infrastructure, at least the customer service infrastructure. They'll handle defects and work with you. But when you get to these Chinese companies that you paid like $50 for an air conditioner, yeah, good luck with that. Oh yeah, I bought a $500 electric bicycle. Yeah, it was shipped to you from China. Good luck if that thing fucking explodes.
Yeah.
I was like, why the hell would you buy like a no-name motorcycle from China? That makes no sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
you seriously bought a scooter from China? Like, if this thing breaks down, who's gonna fix it?
Yeah.
You can't just take it to like a dealership. It's like, what's this? I've never.
motorcycles everywhere.
No, it's like, okay, you take it to a Kawasaki dealership, and they're like, what the hell is this Shenzhen shit here? It's like,
Yeah.
no, I can't fix it. How am I gonna get parts for this shit?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, people just don't know what they're doing. Like, I do buy Chinese shit sometimes, but it has to be like less than $10. It has to be something I don't care about if it fucking breaks down.
That makes sense.
Or what I do is I do this, what I call the switcheroo, is I buy another one, and then I return the bad one, and then I do a return on it.
Oh, okay.
So I get my money back for the one I bought like a year ago, which is out of warranty, and I just replace it with the new one I bought.
That's a good idea.
That's what I do with Chinese junk all the time. Say, if you're not going to honor your warranty, I'm just going to buy a new one and return it within the return policy.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that's a trick. But that's if you're willing to buy the same Chinese junk again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because I just did it recently with like a gaming mouse. Like, I bought it and it had like the shittiest drivers ever. I was like, fuck, these drivers are horrible. So I bought like a little bit of an upgraded version from the same company, and I just swapped the mouse. Even though it was a different model, I still swapped it out and I got my refund.
Nice.
Cool,
One
man.
crappy Chinese mouse. Well, everything's Chinese now. iPhones are Chinese.
China's taking over the world, man.
Samsung are Chinese. Oh, if we get out of Afghanistan, the Russians and the Chinese are like, well, what gives a shit? I don't think $2 trillion of wasted dollars will matter if the fucking Chinese or Russians move in.
Listen, the problem is China. In the
and what to do about the damn virus research, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There needs to be a Butlerian jihad when it comes to this viral fucking research, man. This is not some stuff to mess around with. Like, Elon Musk talks about AI, and that's not what's fucking us over right now. It's the release of some shit that they were fucking around with in the lab.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Look what it did. Look at how many people it killed. Look at how many economies it destroyed. Jesus, how many childhoods it ruined.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's
And,
making
like,
that same comparison the other day to 9/11. Like, 16 hijackers went into a plane, and then that plane took down 2 towers, and inside that 2 towers was a bunch of people that unfortunately died. And then people that cleaned up the rubble afterwards, they unfortunately got cancer and they died. And then we sent, people off to Afghanistan to fight in a war, and those people unfortunately died. And then they went to Iraq, and those people unfortunately died. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it just keeps like this little tiny speck. Eventually, same with COVID though. It's like this thing leaks from a lab, and then it gets, Italy got hit really hard, and then the United States got hit really hard, and there was phase 1, phase 2, and then there was like, we were waiting for vaccines, and
Yeah, well, at least North America doesn't give a shit about lockdowns anymore. Like,
yeah. Well, neither
So
does
now-
UK. I mean, I was reading the other day that, or maybe it's today. Sorry, that UK has dropped a lot of the restrictions. Same thing. They've had their cases go up, and they were talking about vaccine mandates at one point, and then Boris Johnson scrapped that. So
yeah, I think they're just like, I feel that we should just be at the level if no one wants to get vaccinated, they can take their chances. Like, it's
Yeah.
free and available to everybody now, so anybody that wants it can get it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then if they want to put themselves at risk, then it's their choice.
Yeah, I agree.
But if they're going to do that, then like if they're living with other family members or something, and they know they're going to be doing that, maybe they should encourage like their older family members to get it at least.
Yeah.
So that, because not some older people are not as mobile. They might be retired. They might not have a car. They might not know how to use an Uber app or whatever. So help those folks out if they need it. But at this point, we should have house-to-house, like, on-call vaccines. There should be, like, people that can just show up places and give vaccines.
Yeah.
Like, there was this point in time where we had a bunch of vaccines that were, like, had to be thrown away because people, like, I think the Pfizer one kind of has a shelf life to it. So they had to throw a bunch of them away because not enough people were getting, like, vaccinated or whatever.
Oh, okay.
yeah, they did the same thing here, and we had like at one point we had like 4 or 5 clinics. Now we're down to like 1 or 2, and I was talking to a buddy of mine that works for the city, and we're even closing down those, and it's just gonna be like, a kiosk or something like that. I'm all you can go get vaccinated, but like a bunch of pharmacies, you can go get it at any pharmacy around here too, right? So
Right.
Yeah, here it's like any pharmacy basically has it. You could go to like a Walmart pharmacy or like a CVS or a Rite Aid or something, and they all have it. So it's pretty widely available. But there are places where you got to travel like an hour just to get to a Rite Aid, though, in America. So there are some people in rural areas that don't have the ease of access that someone in the city might have.
Oh,
And it
okay.
tends to be, in this case, that the people in the rural areas are the ones that tend to not be as vaccinated. And that's, I remember when I was first researching the vaccine, like where to get it. And this is when it was just like released for my age group. It's like, damn, the only one I found was like 3 hours away. It's like, fuck it, I don't need it that bad.
Okay.
And then I waited like a month, and I was like, okay, it's here in this city that's about 20 minutes away. I'll go get it. But even there, it's like 20 minutes away. I gotta drive for 20 minutes, wait around for a half hour, get pricked, and then drive home. So it's like a hour and a half deal just to get a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted any flu vaccine, I just walked into any place and get it. I'm pretty sure at this point in time, I could probably go to any drugstore and get a vaccine for COVID.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that here too. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if someone does not want to get that damn vaccine, and they shouldn't have to. I guess the only issue is that, we don't have the vaccine for kids. So when it comes to kids and schools and things like that, I know there was a case in California where this teacher had like COVID symptoms, went to school, and thought it was okay to take their mask off and tell a story to the kids. And I think like half the class got COVID.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So I think there are some professions that probably should require it, but I don't think everybody should. If you want to force all public servants to do work and get a government paycheck to do it, hey, I'm fine. Hey, you guys work for the government. You guys are paid by taxpayer money. Then go get the goddamn vaccine. But if you're working for like a private company or something, I don't really think it should be mandatory.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, not mandatory. We should give people their own kind of, you should be able to choose, right? So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And like that's one thing that I appreciate. Like you and I have talked before, Chris, about how well, all three of us actually really kind of like try to evaluate politicians based on their individual decisions and policies and whatnot. And I was, we were talking a little bit in our last podcast about the upcoming Canadian election and different policies that people have about COVID. And even though I don't know that much about the conservative guy and some of his policies I disagree with, that one that he said about how making it an option for people to either choose to be vaccinated if they, like for certain companies, if you want to go back into work, you have to be vaccinated, or if you don't want to be vaccinated, you have to be tested for COVID once a week if you want to still work from home. I think that's a good compromise to be able to give people that choice.
Right. I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah.
But I think the COVID's going to be around for a while. It's not going away anytime soon. I think we at least got another year dealing with this. It all depends on what variant comes out next. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It might be just kind of like the flu. It just kind of stays around forever and it's never completely eradicated.
I kind of have the feeling that it's going to end up being that way, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but that means
probably,
that means that people should, like, hopefully we can get some sort of like herd immunity, or just up to the point where people regularly get vaccinated, like how there's a flu shot, but people still get the flu, but it's not considered like a major problem.
Or humans might just have to evolve
Yeah.
to withstand this thing.
No, I give it about like 5-10 years. I think like around that time, modern medicine would have caught up by that, and we would have completely eradicated by that point. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but again, I'm just like guessing here.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some improvements, like overall to treatment and prevention.
Yeah. And just going through the general population, I mean, a majority of people would have COVID or once or twice by the time 5-10 years rolls around.
Mm-hmm.
At the rate that it's spreading currently with the new variant, and who knows, right? But again, man, like, oh man, I can't. There's so many times I've been like, oh, well, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and then it fucking like dead wrong a month later.
Yeah.
So
we were talking before about how like all three of us were surprised by COVID because it seems like the only reason that Trump lost the election.
Yeah, it would be interesting, and I know we can't play this game, but it'd be interesting if we could like go back in time in our Bill and Ted's phone booth and see if like somebody else was running for president, not Trump, if COVID would have been like, yeah.
I think
Like-
if COVID never hit us economically, it's only the economic after effect of COVID that caused Trump to not win. Like, if
Yeah.
there was no adverse reaction economically, then it would have been fine. Trump would have won again. Because
Yeah.
typically, when people are doing okay economically, they're not going to change the presidency up.
Yeah,
Because
usually, yeah.
that's what happened with Bush Sr. Like, he wanted to raise taxes, and conservatives got really mad. And we had neoliberal Clinton come in, and he swooped it up, saying that he wasn't going to raise taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, when people, people primarily vote with their wallet.
Yeah,
Primarily.
for sure.
Yeah, or they look at a lot of people are single issue voters, they look at like,
Yeah.
like I'm, in regards to COVID, like for myself, I'm currently like weighing in and debating whether like COVID is obviously a main factor into who I'm voting for, or if I'm even going to vote at all. That's where I'm at. It's like, should I vote or who? And if I do vote, anyway. But yeah, some people vote like just on abortion, right? Some people just vote on, taxes, right? Like if you're a business owner and, whatever party comes in and they're offering super low taxes, you're going to definitely take that because it could save you thousands of dollars, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of people are single issue voters, and I think a lot of people like to think they pay attention and go down the line and go through every platform with a fine-tooth comb and yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, man, I think a lot of people are single issue voters. I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, like, I think we talked about before, Andrew. I voted Trudeau in just because, like, marijuana, right? I wanted marijuana to be legalized, and boom, that was it. One.
Yeah, that's why I voted for him the first time too. And then
Right?
like I didn't vote. I did like both of us didn't vote for him the second time because that's like the only good thing that he did or said.
Yeah. I'd also debate like single issue vote, like even if you're voting the lesser of two evils. I know that's often the case in the US because they're a two-party system. Right? You're voting often for like, the lesser of two evils. Like, yeah, Hillary and Donald Trump are like two of the worst candidates ever on the planet Earth, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could say at this last election,
like-
I didn't vote for anybody. I only voted against Trump.
yeah, you're choosing between like the healthiest food options between Burger King and McDonald's, right? So
Yeah, I was just like done with Trump. I was like, I don't want this headache every day. I don't want my news cycle dominated by bullshit tweets. Like, I want some real shit talked about. Like, I want some real issues talked about. I don't give a shit about the asinine stuff that he posts. Like,
yeah,
gives a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit's not important. So I just wanted him out. So I didn't I felt that the media was like needed a wake up call. Like, they needed Big Daddy Trump moved away so they wouldn't make their money talking about Trump all the time.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, basically all their ratings went down. I was like, yeah, talk about real shit now. And then they just kind of went into, I guess, neoliberal mode when we got to Afghanistan. And, well, the conservative side is kind of still not, they're kind of talking more about cultural war bullshit. And then we got, I have no idea what like mainstream liberals talk about. I guess like my only connection to that would be like whatever. I have no fucking clue what they talk about. Because I don't watch CNN. I don't watch MSNBC,
Yeah.
and my local news channel isn't really like a partisan news channel.
The only time I watch those mainstream news shows is when I say YouTubers take apart clips of them and intellectually shit all over them.
Yeah, I don't watch them at all. To me, they're just utterly useless.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I watch the news is to get the news. Like, I don't give a shit about your stupid opinion. I'll listen to more entertaining YouTube people for that. You guys are not entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. They're just really boring entertainers and oversimplified thinkers too. Like even more bombastic YouTubers like Jimmy Dore or someone like that, they put more thought into their content and more effort than the basically just one-dimensional talking points that mainstream TV media anchors spout.
Yeah, I'll just see like Don Lemon on there, and man, I just hate the way his cadence is. It just fucking annoys me to no end.
Yeah.
I like
so-
Don.
You like Don Lemon?
Imagine. No. No, I don't. Yeah, I just.
And then the
They're
Chris Cuomo
they're
controversy.
They're
Oh, yeah.
journalists, right? So like, yeah, these guys are like with the Jimmy Dore. They're just YouTube guys. There's no kind of they're relying on you for as far as clicks goes, but they're not backed by like Gillette or Shell or you know what I mean, like right.
Yeah.
So they can go anywhere they want to and talk about whatever they want with no consequences. Whereas like my good buddy Don, he can only go within a certain ideological boundary with CNN, or else well, I don't think they would cancel him, but they would. I don't know. You got to toe a certain line, right?
Oh yeah, the manufacturing consent line.
Yeah.
They got
Not
very
just that, whatever the
powerful
current narrative
backers.
is too, right? Like I feel like just like you have your Tucker Carlsons on the right, the Don Lemons on the left, they follow a certain like left and right ideological. Like when you go through your Twitter feed and you see all those people on the right, they all like the same kind of tweets, and the people on the left, they all like the same kind of tweets, right? There's no like, I don't know. It's rare that you get a great.
I'm like super surprised that Tucker Carlson has the audience he has, considering like everything that's happened. Like, didn't he like leak? Wasn't he like a leaker or something?
What do you mean?
Like, I heard that he leaked like information from various people.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That could be true though.
But the guy is like he changes his opinion by what's popular at the time.
Yeah.
He flip-flops all the goddamn time. He doesn't stay consistent about anything.
He's all culture war too.
Yeah, that too. I think what the most recent thing I heard from him is he was telling people, oh yeah, good upright citizens or whatever, or resulting to creating fake vaccine documents.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Law-abiding citizens.
Those guys are hanging by a thread, though. They're like hanging on to the last gasp of breath. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the Tucker Carlsons or the Don Lemons are going to be like. I don't know. Like Tucker, I know like he's like really popular, but that's because I always saw it as Fox being, the platform that produces him.
Wasn't he like the most popular host on Fox?
Yeah, but is at the same time, I feel like there's so many independent journalists on Substack that even though he's like, let's say, I don't know what his numbers are, I don't pay attention, but let's say it's like 10 million. There's still people that are on different platforms that are still getting just as much clicks and views. Maybe not 10 million, but I think that medium of Fox and CNN bringing you the actual factual news is taking a real big hit, especially because COVID, right? Because they've both been just touting bullshit for the past 18 months that I don't think that these news organizations are going to be, you know what I mean? Like they're still, I don't know. They've lost a lot of traction and they've lost a lot of credibility, obviously, but it's really gone really bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only thing I really care about is like my local news station.
Yeah. I don't even trust my local news station though. My local news station is just horrible.
Is it really? What's wrong with your local news station?
They're like extremely biased. Like the other day they had like they called one of our Canadian political parties like white nationalist Nazis. And it's like, yeah, a Canadian political party. Yeah, and it's like, why you don't need to sensationalize that kind of a headline in order to get clicks, right? I know what you're doing there. We're not idiots. I get that, but it's just, I don't even trust our local news. It's because our local news is also, they're owned by a way bigger corporation that owns there's the same, like the United States is like 2 or 3 rich conglomerates that own like a majority of even local news under its branches, right?
Yeah.
So,
the CBC,
Post Media, sorry, it's Post Media and CBC. Yeah, those are the two, and they're super left. Like CBC is like, they're like the North Korean news. You know what I mean? They're pretty much, you're getting exactly what the liberals are spitting out, and they're funded by the government too, right? So, but I
saw even the CBC was also like basically all their coverage of Biden pulling out of Afghanistan was critical of it. Just like all other mainstream TV news media.
Yeah. Well, CBC to me is just like CNN. Anything you find on CNN headline wise, CBC will tell the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So your news system is a bit different.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of different like little conglomerates. There's a difference between Fox local news and Fox like cable news. Like they're totally different.
No, we have that too. We have like Global and CTV that's like regional. They're all throughout the province under one umbrella, but they're little pockets. There's CTV Kitchener, CTV Toronto, all of the little tiny cities, but they all spout the same left kind of ideology. They're not like, I don't know.
What do they say that's like left? Because that's weird for local news to do that. Like, I don't know. My local news just covers local shit. They cover some national stories, but
I'll give you an example. So, like recently in Canada, we have an election going on, right? So Trudeau, who's our current prime minister, he's currently on tour, touring around from city to city to, give speeches and that kind of stuff. Well, one stop that he made currently in London, he got rocks thrown at him. And CTV,
whoa.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was not rocks; it was like pebbles. But the CTV and all the local news were like, "Oh my God, that's so violent!" Blah blah blah, and it was the worst thing ever on the planet Earth. Like you might as well have thrown nuclear bombs his way. Now, there's another candidate named Maxime Bernier who you might have seen. He's been on like Joe Rogan, or not Joe Rogan.
He talked to Michaela Peterson, right?
Michaela Peterson, yeah, sorry. And he's been on Dave Rubin. That was the guy I was thinking of. It's not Joe Rogan. But anyway, he got egged the other day. Like a candidate came up, did a selfie with him, did an egg over the head, and like fuck you, and like took off, right? And the guy Maxime Bernier didn't press charges. He was like, no, just let him go, security or whatever. But do you think any mainstream media outlet in Canada picked up on that story at all? No. Right? So there's and because he's a total right-wing guy, so there's a definite heavy left-wing media bias where they're showing you only one side of the story here. We don't have conservative, we don't have a Fox News here in Canada like you guys do in the States.
Oh, well, yeah. And whenever someone in the U.S. says mainstream media didn't cover it, they're usually full of shit because Fox News is mainstream media. Like anything that Tucker Carlson says is mainstream media.
Yeah.
So usually whenever you hear someone say that in the U.S., they're basically full of shit.
Yeah, but think of the U.S. right now. Think of you guys only having CTV and think of you guys only having CNN and MSNBC. Imagine that was your world right now. You only had those two news outlets. That's how we're
kind of weird.
That's that's the current climate in Canada right now. We have CTV Global and CBC, the biggest three news organizations, and they're all like CTV and MSNBC.
Well, it was kind of like that in the early.
Those are all government run too.
Yeah, and they're government run too, so they're very like, yeah, they're I don't know.
They're publicly funded, or are they directly ran by the government?
They're governmentally funded, like through our tax
Okay.
dollars, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of
they're-
like we have NPR.
Yeah, that's it. So we have the same thing. Our version of CBC is NPR.
Yeah, because I know NPR receives government funding, but they're not completely funded by the government. So, like Koch brothers, they donate to NPR, and like left-wing organizations as well. So I don't know. I don't really listen to much NPR. It depends. I'll listen to some if I'm craving like content about a particular story and I've already exhausted all my usual content creators. Then I might go to NPR to see what their take is. But it's not something I ever go to first. I probably like on the very last of my list to check out.
Yeah, I listen to actually NPR a lot. They have a good podcast called Up Close, which is like a 15-minute digestion of like all the current news, like headlines every morning. So I listen to
Up Close occasionally, like because my daily news thing is the Daily, which is freaking New York Times.
Yeah.
I don't know. People are always bagging on the Times, but their coverage, their podcast is pretty good at covering both sides.
Hey, did you guys see on the last Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter podcast that John McWhorter just recently got hired as a columnist for the New York Times?
Really?
I did see that.
Oh, that's cool.
I haven't watched that podcast, but I did hear that headline that he. I don't know.
Congratulations to John McWhorter.
Yeah, it's awesome. Apparently, they haven't like tried to edit him, even though he's saying his usual like critical stuff about people getting all paranoid about race and shit like that.
No, I don't think they'll try to edit him. Like he has, if he's gonna play the identity politic card, he's black. So what are they gonna do?
Exactly.
And I would see New York Times as more getting him on board of doo-doo. Like he's got a huge following, right?
Exactly.
New book that came out, and obviously what he does with Glenn on logging heads is caught on too, right? So I would see that as more as opportunistic. Yeah, thank you. Of the New York Times.
Yeah. So is he going to be doing editorials then?
I think it's something like that. Like I think he said it's something like 1,500 words 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't subscribe to the New York Times print, but I don't know. Maybe I'll cross some of his work sometime.
Yeah. His new book called 9 Nasty Words is great too. It's all about the history of the linguistics of swearing, basically.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I read it. It's really good. Yeah.
I'll have to see if my library carries that.
Yeah, I have it on my list of like books I want to read. I just there's too many on that list.
Yeah, it's great.
9 Nasty Words?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so behind in books.
It's a good problem.
Yeah. I'm just behind.
Better read.
That's funny. Like Chris would probably look at my reading list for the year. It's like, what the fuck? You're not behind.
I'm so behind. It's taking me. I'm still doing Behave by
Robert
awesome book.
Yeah,
I love that book.
That's a great book.
Yeah, it's taking me so long to get through it though, and then
it's very technical, but it's good information
for sure.
So I'm struggling to not struggling, but just finding time to because I like to do audiobooks when I have no distractions, right? Like if I'm like working out or something like that. So just find the time to get through that. And then I have Naomi Park, the North Korean girl. That's the next one I'll read after that one. So
I need to look into that one too. I saw that Rogan episode. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, me too.
That was
Yeah,
freaking horrible.
If you find that, Dusty, would you mind sending that to me too? Because I would love to read that as well.
Yeah, no problem. I was like, man, this is the worst I've ever heard.
Yeah, me too, man. Like some of the shit she was describing sounded worse than the fucking Holocaust.
yeah, like with their intestines growing out of them and asking for food. Yeah, that's really
man,
disturbing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I need to start reading a little bit more nonfiction. I've just been diving into a lot of fiction, but I don't know. I was reading like some Charles Murray books, and those books just kind of pissed me off. I know I gave you some of them. Did you listen to any of them?
Yeah, that one you sent me, I forget what it was called, but the one you sent me, I thought it's not as bad.
Some of them are okay.
It's not as bad as people say, but I mean, a lot of it is kind of like science that I've heard more sophisticated criticisms of a lot of the generalizations that he makes.
Well,
he's not like a white supremacist or any shit like that.
No, he's like a conservative who thinks like good old times were back in the 50s or something.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Like it's like, not everything was okay back then. Like you want to bring up statistics, but you can't bring up the statistics without talking about the social realities of what was going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the statistics don't tell the whole story. Come on, guy. It's like, oh yeah, back in the 50s, the rate of marriage and blah 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 blah. It's like, yep, and motherfuckers were slapping their wives up back then, and couldn't get a divorce if they wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, guy, whatever, man. But one of them. Oh, and I like. Did you get that? The guy that makes the dry bucks. What's his name? Jared Diamond. I sent you a couple of his other books.
Yeah, I read.
His other books I find better than Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Yeah, I like Collapse more than Guns, Germs, and Steel. I thought that one was more interesting, like how societies and so the different factors that lead to the fall of civilizations rather than the factors that lead to the formation of them.
Oh, okay. I really liked his Upheaval book. I thought that was really good.
I don't think I read that one. I think the other one that I read that you send me is The World Until Yesterday.
Did you read Why Sex is Fun?
Oh, yeah, I did read that one. Yeah, I have read that one. That one was really interesting, too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like evolutionary biology interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm waiting on Bret Weinstein's book. I'm going to read that one. I have it on hold at my library when it comes out.
Oh, that's just about out already, eh? Or it's out already?
No.
Yeah, when it comes out, I'll put it on the Google Drive so you can get it.
Yeah, I've heard them talk about it a lot. They were talking about that in their
the Rogan podcast
the other day. Yeah.
Him and his wife both did it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so that book sounds more interesting than the shit you have to say about ivermectin, so I'll just check your book out.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like when they get into their specialty, they are very interesting sometimes.
Yeah, I just hope they don't get like Gad Sad-ish, because Gad Sad, like in his evolutionary biology books, he just likes to go ahead and attack like the weakest super woke arguments that nobody believes.
Biology does have to do with gender, okay?
Yeah, like male and female is not a social construct. Duh, motherfucker. Who says that? Who says a dick is a social construct? Nobody says that shit.
People who
Like-
wrote a paper about that to troll the journal that they were writing the paper for believe that.
No, it's just like I don't care about these super woke ass like people that say that what do they say? There's no biological difference between men and women.
Yeah, something like
Who the fuck believes that? Like
Go in.
nobody. Like nobody of significance believes that.
like 10,000 people across the world, maybe even 100,000 people across the world who are like 14-year-old crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists on the internet.
Nobody of significance.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard anybody say that except in like a debate. I think the only time I've ever heard this is when Jordan Peterson was like on a debate panel and like a gender binary person said that. That's like the only time I've ever heard someone make that argument ever.
Okay.
And the binary gender person is like nobody of significance.
Okay.
It's like when Jordan Peterson would appear on that Canadian show. What is that show that he would show up on in your country?
Oh, I think it's called The Agenda. I sometimes watch that.
Yeah, so he was on that show and he was like debating with a panel about something.
And it was like a bunch of purple-haired professors and shit.
Yes, exactly. It's like these aren't real opinions that most people have.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I went into your average classroom of any age and every level, even if I went into your sociology class, I don't think they would have that opinion. Do you think your sociology professor would have said that or no?
Said what?
That there's no biological difference between men and women?
I think she might have. She did say like all the catchphrases, like, you know, there's nothing biologically unhealthy about people being fat, and you know, like it's impossible for black people to be racist, and you know, all that kind of stuff to be expected.
Okay, so she was that woke. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some of that stuff, if some of that stuff becomes a part of the general orthodoxy, you can't go outside of that. And even though you might believe differently, you have to go and tote the party lines, right? So
yeah,
you're not going to.
Well, if it changes, I'll let you know.
Especially when you're working in an environment like a teacher or whatever. Like I don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Because Dusty's
well, I got the inside track on that, and it's not what they say. Like there's no like woke bullshit being taught in elementary school. It's like kids, almost
recess is over. Let's learn about transgender people.
Yeah, there's not really any of that. Like the only thing doesn't have anything to do with curriculum. It's just what it has to do with teachers and how they treat kids. Like just being aware of cultural differences, and it's especially when you're like say you have a Muslim student or something, and you tell them something that might be, I don't know. You just have to be aware that they might have some weird freaking moral shit that's different.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like everybody has different moral standards and things like that, and you just stick to the curriculum that you got to teach. You're not there to well, yeah, you're supposed to teach like being kind and shit like that, but you're not supposed to teach like if you're this, you're an infidel or some shit like that. No, none of that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like basic human decency. They don't really have to go beyond there. Like there was a big case in the county over here in Loudoun County about some teacher refusing to use preferred pronouns or something. How do you guys feel about that?
About pronouns?
Yeah, like if
I'm okay with using pronouns. Like if I was a professor and then somebody in my class was like use pronouns, I'd be like, sure, no problem. I would call somebody whatever they. I don't know. I'm pretty respectful on that way. My issue, especially here with Canada and Jordan Peterson's whole point, was that the government was implementing that into law, meaning that you could be fined for not doing that. And that's where I draw the line. Similar to like vaccines being mandated. I'm pro-vaccine and I have both shots, but as far as the government mandating for you to do it, that's where I draw the line. I just think that there's a,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because what was going on in Loudoun County, there was a teacher, and they said if a student wants to be preferred to be called a girl, then you basically got to do that. And it's not a law, it's just kind of a terms of employment thing. Like if you don't do it, they're not going to put you in jail or fine you. And he won the case, so he doesn't get fired or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like they're still kind of reviewing things because I think it's kind of fucked up. Like even if it's just a regular boy who you would normally call a boy, like, and then they're not presenting as like trans or anything. If you start calling them a girl just to antagonize them, that's still fucked up. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't think it would be appropriate either way. You know, even if they are like a normal presenting boy and you're calling them a girl, it's just as probably fucked up as calling like a trans girl like a boy or something like that.
Yeah,
you could be a dick about it. Like the famous example is Candace Owens and Blair White when they were.
Oh yeah, that was like totally fucked up.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, other way around. You're a man, you're a man, you're a man.
Yeah. So you could be a complete dick about it for sure. And there are always going to be those people out there. I just like, yeah, well, it would be government, you know. Yeah.
Well, if you're in a public school, you got rules, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but he actually was covered under free speech, so there's really nothing that could be done, I guess.
Yeah, see, that's where ours is like, we don't have free speech here in Canada, so I'm sure it would be a completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they could complain about the teacher, because I think there's probably something that the school can have, because you can't just go off into elementary school like a kindergarten teacher and just start saying like the 7 bad words like repeatedly over and over. I think the speech isn't that free. So if you're not doing your job, obviously, you're probably gonna get a bad evaluation and get terminated.
Right.
But I think what he did is he didn't actually do the action. He just told administration that he would not comply. So I don't know if there's actually been an instance where a transgender student that he actually had one. So as far as like what was going on, I believe he said he wouldn't comply, and then the district put him on administrative leave. So there wasn't an actual action that occurred. He just said he wouldn't comply or sign the paper or whatever. So I think he won his case and he went back to school. But if there's an actual grievance that occurs, that might change things. Because there was no grievance. So if there's an actual transgender kid that goes in there and he continually calls them the wrong pronoun, I'm guessing something would impact him adversely. I don't know what it would be. We would just have to see what would happen. Maybe enough parents complain that he gets reprimanded, or I don't know. I don't know how administration works. Like I know how some of the teaching side stuff works, but I don't know how the administration stuff works. Because it is crazy, man. I've heard some crazy ass stories from my wife about how irresponsible some of these teachers are. Like during the pandemic, there's this one teacher that was absent every single Monday and Wednesday.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, and they didn't get fired. So the kids were literally not getting, well, they were having classes. They had to put the kids in like other people's classes every Monday and Wednesday. And they're totally not doing their job to an adequate standard. But I don't know what it is about public schools. But this teacher, I think it was only her second year. And I was like, dang, she would have been fired if it were up to me. But because of the pandemic, there was a teacher shortage, so they couldn't do shit. It's like they had very slim picking, so you have crappy teachers and nobody to replace them.
Oh wow. So someone posted some angry comments here that I think we should address. This guy or person said, "Take your shot. I hope it messes you up." Okay. Clearly, I haven't watched this whole podcast. Go back to the beginning where Dusty goes through in detail a lot of evidence showing the utility of vaccines. That doesn't mean oh, and look at this about transgender stuff. Accept me for who I am, even though I can't accept who I am. China is going to annihilate the woke states of American.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Like, what does China have to do with like transgenderism? And if they're gonna wipe out America, why would they only wipe out the woke states? They like the non woke states, and also like accept me for who I am, even though I can't accept who I am. That's not what transgenderism is they're different from the way that other people see them, so they want other people to see them the way that they accept themselves, because the other way that people see them is different from the way that they accept themselves.
Yeah, it's like if I wanted people to call me white, and when I looked in the mirror, I believed I was white. I guess. I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so so you would go around and say, hey, call me white. If you wanted to get, like, I have the same principle for that.
I feel white.
I have the same sort of principle for that. If you want me to start calling you a white guy now, Dusty, I'll start calling you a white guy.
No, well, I guess I have no problem, like, hey, whatever.
Yeah, I used to want to be a black guy when I was a kid.
Why though? Why?
I don't know. I thought black guys were cool for some reason, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would care, why somebody would want to call themselves whatever. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, are you so offended that they want to call themselves?
Like, if you've never, like, to me, you've never actually met a transgender person. If you think that, if you're implying that accepting someone's terms that they want you to use for them means that, like, literally, you have to literally accept that I biologically have different genders than I literally do if you pull down my pants. I don't think any transgender person is under any illusions, because then they wouldn't be transgender. They would be literally crazy, because they would literally think that they are a different person in a different body from the body that they see in the mirror.
Yeah, they would literally.
I see a dick, but you all see a dick, but this is actually a vagina. I don't know if you knew
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If they literally had a dick and they said that, no, I have a vagina, don't you see it? Yeah, that would just make them crazy.
Pretty weird looking vagina.
Yeah, that's like a huge ass clit you have there. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Where are your balls?
You know, some transgender people like take hormones and use like pussy pumps to grow their clitorises, and some people like do that to the point where it almost looks like a small dick.
It's like non-functional though. It doesn't like work, does it?
No, it's all for aesthetic purposes, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever floats their boat, man.
Yeah. I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I'm the same. Yeah.
yeah,
You be you, I'll be me.
me too.
Yeah,
But
I just think it's funny that
Frank
people
Fly.
are so indignified by having to call someone the gender that they don't look. It's like,
Yeah.
how dare you make me call you a girl? How dare you? You know, that's kind
Reminds
of
me
like
of that,
the vibe.
Reminds me of that like caricature of some like upper class person that Kyle Kalinske makes fun of. Good sir, how do you have the audacity to demand this of me, sir? Oh dear, I will swoon.
Like, how dare you? How dare you make me refer to you as a woman?
You have besmirched my honor.
Yeah, it's like, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, if some dude wants to be gay as fuck, let him be gay as fuck.
Yeah, who cares?
Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, it's kind of funny that they're that gay.
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about by that gay. Like,
Hi,
so
guys.
gay. Like, I actually think that it's. I'm not laughing at them because they're that gay. I'm laughing at them because I'm not. It's like I find the things that they say funnier. I don't know what it is, but saying like, because one of the funniest things I ever seen, I was at the airport and this like super flamboyant gay dude was working at like the McDonald's there at the airport, and like some customers started bitching at him, and he went like off the rails, like in the super gay way. I was like, it was so funny, and it was funny because obviously the customer was in the wrong. Usually, like, it's like, dude, these people are getting paid fucking minimum wage. Like, ease off, bitch. You know,
Yeah,
usually the
that
people like
annoys-
that are the ones that have never been in that situation. You know, they
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
annoys me. That always annoys me when people do shit like that. Like I think about it the same way. I've had some shitty jobs. Like it pisses me off when people are like getting all mad at this person who's working this minimum wage job, and unless they're actually doing something bad, like obviously people can be bad employees, but most of the time it's people getting mad over nothing.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you forgot my ketchup. How dare you? It's like, fuck, it's fucking ketchup. It's ketchup at a fucking McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I get my orders wrong all the time, and of course I get disappointed when I go to like a Chinese place and they forget this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when I go back, they like overload me with a bunch of shit. Like I remember once I went to TGI Fridays and they forgot like this little side dish of like mozzarella sticks for my daughter, which was like comes with like 2 mozzarella sticks. And I went back. I was like, you know what? You guys, I called them and said, hey, you guys forgot, blah, 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 blah. They're like, all right, we'll just stop by and we'll give you some. I was like, oh, okay. I went there, and it was only a block away, so it wasn't that inconvenient. And I went there, and they gave me like the giant freaking container full of like 20 mozzarella sticks.
Oh, wow.
Like, holy crap. Nice. I was like, oh, thank you guys. I was like, yeah, no problem. You know, sorry that we messed up your order. I was like, oh, you guys made up for it. You know, this is pretty cool.
Nice.
So, yeah, sometimes, hey, if you're not a dick, you know, they'll usually do good by you. Like usually if it's a fast food place, they're like, here, have a free drink or a free sundae or something for messing up your order.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, don't be a dick to fucking minimum wage workers, man. It's just if you get fucking yelled at by a minimum wage worker for being a dick, then you probably deserved it.
Yeah. Just don't be a dick in general. It's a good policy.
Yeah. I have to deal with dickish people all the time, but I don't know. I don't know. I have my ways of dealing with them.
Yeah, I know. You've talked about that before.
Yeah, I suddenly don't sound as stupid as you think I am. Like usually it's when they start talking about a product and I might know a lot of technical things about the product that they're calling, or that they're just like doing like complete logical fallacies on me. It's like, oh, the driver must be stealing my shit. It's like, oh, have you ever consider that, you might be ending up at a neighbor's house, or your neighbor might be stealing it, or blah, 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 blah. Like, their first reaction is always, the driver must be stealing my package because they know that I'm ordering this blah, 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 blah. It's like, are you aware that the driver doesn't know what's in your package?
Yeah. Some people
The
have a
driver has no
persecution
clue
complex.
what is in your package, sir.
Yeah.
Are you sure that they're stealing your package because they know what's in it? Because they don't know. We don't tell them what's in the package.
Right.
It's like, the driver. It's always the driver. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you must know exactly where my package is right now.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it looks like your package has a post office label on it. I'm not sure why you're calling me to get your exact location. You're probably better off calling the post office. Oh yeah, UPS. This has a UPS label on it. Did you try calling UPS? Like, no, but you're Amazon. You should know exactly. It's like, well, we don't. UPS has it.
But Amazon knows and surveils everything, so tell me what you know.
Well, I'll do exactly
Hey, Jeff
what I
Bezos.
do.
You have an inside line to Jeff Bezos, right?
Oh, I love
Jeff
the
Bezos.
new Jeff Bezos stuff. I love it. And I was like, are you aware that Jeff Bezos is no longer the CEO of Amazon? And they just shut up.
But I demand a trip in his space penis rocket.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody wants to go up in the space dildo.
Yeah.
Everyone getting mad at Bezos because he attributed his success for the people who work for him.
Yeah,
It's like,
people are
yeah,
just mad at
a
billionaires.
fucking course. I don't understand why people got, oh, this is all because of the people who work for me that blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, you're so insensitive. It's like, no, he's giving proper fucking credit.
Yeah.
Even though it's off of the backs of everybody else. That's why he's there.
Yeah.
At least he's like being honest.
Yeah, people interpreted that as something like maniacal when he was trying to be appreciative.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, you don't know how many people have to talk to that communist freaking Bezos, the socialist
Communist
Bezos. Is like, yeah, it's communist Bezos that wants to break up the unions. That sounds great. That sounds union busting communist Jeff Bezos. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Is that what Tucker Carlson told you? And I can be snippy with them now because I've discovered a way to not include those into like my evaluations.
Oh yeah, I think you told me that before. Yeah.
Yeah, so if someone starts being a dick, like I'll be a dick, but I'll be like a passive aggressive dick to them.
Oh, okay.
Not an overt dick, a passive aggressive dick.
Oh, okay.
Very calm and like I don't yell at them. I've never done that.
Right.
But I don't know. It's fun. I like dealing with dumb people sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. All right.
Yeah,
well, I gotta get going, guys. We've been talking for a while, so thanks for talking to me. It's been fun as always, and thanks to everyone for watching. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the impenetrable darkness of the universe, almost impenetrable darkness of the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And it was good that Biden pulled out of Afghanistan and take COVID vaccines, but the government or anyone else should not force you to do so if you don't want to. and people are being silly and politicizing everything, basically. So check out next week. Next week I'm gonna put out my next video on the series I've been doing on the Stoic philosopher Epictetus's book called The Art of Living, and one of his maxims called "No shame, no blame," which is very misunderstood and underappreciated and totally ignored in internet culture. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how people get into like dramas and feuds and stuff like that. And also next week we're probably going to do our movie chat about Blade, I think, right, guys?
Yeah, I'm totally up for that.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
Motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah, my favorite line in the movie. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So yeah, thanks to everyone for subscribing. Click that bell. Share this everywhere, and give me money on Patreon if you want to. And the link for that is in the description of the video, as always. And guys, got anything else to say before we end it there?
Have a good weekend. Have a good night.
Yeah, check out Chris's videos of him singing and playing the guitar.
I made a music video. You can check it out on YouTube.
And also advocate for more shitting in the literature.
Shitting in the literature? Oh, yeah. Like we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, advocate for that shit. We need more of it.
More shitting in literature. That's our most important final note that we will end it on here. Write more books about people shitting. Okay, authors out there? We know you're all paying attention to us. All right. Adios. Until next time, everyone.
Later.